Good evening, and welcome to this edition of The List on UWW-TV. I'm Colin Reynolds alongside Alex Monti. For the next few minutes, we'll present our top 5 sports stories of the week and discuss why they made our top 5. Did your top 5 make our list? Let's find out. At number 5, the NHL playoffs are wrapping up round 1 and the second round is starting to take shape. The Panthers were one of the first teams to advance after beating the Lightning, and after beating the Capitals, the Rangers were the only team to sweep their opponent. So, with the first round just about over, what were some surprising results? And what are some teams you're looking forward to in the second round, Alex?
Well, I feel like one game that was especially crucial was Game 4 between the Nashville Predators and the Canucks. I feel like that was a pivotal one because Colton Sissons, there's under 2 minutes left in the game. The game was 3-2 in favor of Nashville. He has a chance at open goal, would send it to 4-2, and that would pretty much wrap up the game right then and there. It would end it, but he misses it. He hits the goal post, which is just the most heartbreaking thing. Misses it by inches. The doink, essentially, which I thought that was just a football thing. Ends up missing it. Canucks are able to score, send it to overtime, and then eventually win that game. So I feel like that's a huge momentum shift. I mean, that really puts all the momentum in for the Canucks, and it's a good morale booster for them, and it's just a killer for the Predators. I mean, it's tough to be able to come back from that, and a lot of sympathy going out to him right now. You look at some other teams, the Boston Bruins and the Maple Leafs is going to be a great series. It's been a great series. Historically speaking, it's one that's pretty one-sided. I mean, you look at these teams last year, both got first-rounded, but the Maple Leafs, they're a little different. They are perennial first-round knockouts. I've heard them compared to the Cowboys in some cases for an NFL, NHL comparison. And so that just seems to be what they do more often. With the Bruins, they have a higher pedigree. They don't mess up like that as frequently. And you look historically between the two when it comes to first-round matchups in the playoffs, the Bruins have the Maple Leafs number. They just know how to take care of it and how to knock them out every single year. And the Panthers is a big threat that I'm looking forward to.
Definitely some interesting series going on here. It's going to be very exciting to see how things take shape in the second round of the Stanley Cup playoffs. On to story number 4. The first full month of baseball has gone by in a flash. Players are beginning to form chemistry, injuries are starting to mount, and the stars are truly shining bright. With May baseball underway and over a month of results to look back on, what are some key takeaways you've had from the season so far, Alex?
Well, I feel like a big one is the Marlins. They have just been pathetic so far. I mean, this was a playoff team last year. How is it that they right now are just dead last in the NL East? I mean, they've got 6 wins right now. They're on a 7-game losing streak. They have a longer losing streak than they have wins on the season as a whole. I don't know how it happens, but I mean, you look at other sports, and this is just something that happens every now and again. Like the Rams after the Super Bowl, abysmal. Like they fell off of a cliff. You look at the Kings after last year. They had a hot run in the playoffs, made the play-in, but does that really count? And I look at the Devils, another team from the NHL. They made the playoffs, meteoric rise, and then this past season finishing bottom 4. So it always happens to somebody, but just happened to be the Marlins this year. Twins on an 8-game win streak, first time in 13 years. So that's been exciting for them. They seem unbeatable at the moment. We look for the A's. They've been better, but it was a very low bar to begin with. Obviously, last year was terrible, but this year, things are looking all right. I mean, they have 13 wins so far going before May, but last year, they didn't get 13 wins until the month of June. But I believe Tyler Nevin is a big reason for this, batting a .301 and 3 home runs, so that's definitely helping to turn things around there. AL East, obviously, is naturally competitive. Tampa Bay is only 5 games back in last place, and then the Pittsburgh is 4.5 games back in the NL Central. So 2 divisions that are just unbelievably competitive. Every team is just so close together, and at the top it's very exciting. You look at the Orioles, Yankees, those have been some great series, and then same with the Cubs and the Brewers. I look forward to those in the future.
Yeah, absolutely crazy to see what's going on with the Marlins and the AL East and NL Central, 2 divisions that are super tight, and I'm really excited to see how things work out as we get into summer baseball. Very exciting stuff. At number 3, teams are beginning to take place in the NBA Conference semifinals. The Timberwolves and Thunder both swept their opponents, while the Nuggets took 1 extra game to finish the job. With most of these series finished now, who are some disappointing teams and who looked like serious threats, Alex?
I feel like an obvious team to go with for disappointing was the Suns. I was hearing a lot of rumblings about like the T-Wolves could get beat by the Suns, and a lot of people were saying that. That is not what happened by any means. I feel like just the Suns, they just weren't ready for this type of stage. I mean, they had all the star power, but it just was not enough. And I feel like in cases like this, when the playoffs come around, it's not so much about the stars, but it's more so about the chemistry and continuity between teammates. Other matchups that are going to be exciting, the Mavericks and Cavs have been a nice close one. It's going to be interesting to see who's able to come out with that. I imagine that's going to be a 7-game series, and honestly, it's a toss-up. I really have no idea which way it's going to be going. Cavs Magics is another one that's going to be a close one, still is likely. Yeah. The Pacers is another team that was a bit of a surprise with the Bucks, but with the Bucks, it was just a lot of injuries. It's tough to overcome so many, losing Giannis and Dame. Like, that's just such a hurdle to try and overcome.
Yeah, for that Bucks team, it's just very unfortunate. It would have been a great series to watch those Pacers teams that swept the Bucks in the regular season 4-0, but that was all before Doc Rivers, so things would have been interesting with Giannis and Dame. Obviously, Dame kept it close until he went out, looking like the Pacers are going to take that one now. That Clippers and Mavs series is super interesting. I was coming in thinking this was going to be the most exciting series to watch, and it has been. Clippers almost blew that 30-point lead, but ended up getting it done despite Kyrie Irving's best efforts. And then the Nuggets, they just have the better hand of the Lakers. I mean, they're 12-1 in the last 2 years versus this team. Just outcoached and outplayed, but definitely great basketball going on. And we've got more coming up on the list, including Whitewater Baseball and the NFL Draft. We'll be right back.
NCAA and its member schools offer nearly 500,000 college athletes a path to go pro in something other than sports. Learn more at ncaa.org.
You really need to be up early looking at those news stories. Even the night before, I've been finding topics that I can incorporate in the show, and I feel like we get a conversation going.
Once you get the opportunity to do that with other people who appreciate it the same level as you do, it makes it that much more enjoyable.
For everything sports, tune in Monday through Thursday at 91.7 The Edge or watch us on UWW-TV.
Here at UW Whitewater Intramural Sports, we have a motto: a sport for everyone and everyone in a sport.
Come on! Stepped it anyways. Oh, she got that off. They're going to count it.
Had a blast. Always have fun at intramurals.
Every day we strive to go above and beyond that goal by providing healthy exercise, promoting leisure education, and giving students that competitive atmosphere they are looking for.
Yes! Yes!
It's exciting. Brings me back to those high school days with Friday Night Lights.
With our 25 different intramural sports offered, we guarantee that we have a sport for you. Go to our website and find your sport today.
Welcome back to the list on UWW-TV. Let's continue to count down this week's top sports stories. At number 2, the Warhawks baseball team continues to be an unstoppable force. They lead the WIAC with a 30-6 record as well as a 17-3 conference record. Their next series will be a 4-game series against the second-place Stevens Point, or 4 games back of Whitewater. With what promises to be a great 4 games, how do you see this series going, Alex?
I mean, realistically, I see it going Whitewater's way. I mean, you look at this team, and it is just unbelievably stacked. Eli Frank, Matt Skolin, and Ben Frazier have the top 3 averages in the WIAC, 481, 430, and 429, respectively. And that's not where it ends. So much star talent, but they also have 5 of the top 10 batting averages. And that still reflects when you look at the team, like when you zoom out and go look at the team scale of statistics. They're first in batting average with 360. They're first in runs. They're first in hits. They're second in walks, third in home runs, and they have the fewest strikeouts to top it all off. Now you think like with offense like that, clearly that's how the team is built. You know, it's just outscore the other team, win via shootouts, just score as many runs as possible. But you look at the other side, and it happens that the pitching is also a strength of this team. They have 3 of the top 5 pitchers for ERA, 4 of the top 5 for averages allowed, 4 of the top 10 for strikeouts, and 2 of the top 5 for the fewest walks. I mean, it is just absurd what they're putting up so far. You look at the team as a whole, first in ERA, allowing 3.44 runs, and first in strikeouts as well. Second fewest walks allowed, and the lowest average with a 2.22. It's just insane. I mean, keeps piling up higher and higher. When you look at both sides, it just becomes so lopsided. And you look at the fielding, even there, they're still doing well. Second highest fielding percentage and second fewest errors. Look at Stevens Point. They rank 4th in average and 2nd in home runs. They are just 1 home run above Whitewater. And the pitching, that's their best bet, I would say. They're 2nd in ERA, but even then, that's 2 more runs per game than what Whitewater's giving up with a .559.
Yeah, that Stevens Point team may be 2nd in the WIAC, but it looks like Whitewater is head and shoulders above the rest, just dominant, like you said, on both sides of the ball. But at our number 1 story of the week, the NFL Draft has come to a close. The next generation of talent has been scattered across the league, with many teams believing they have fixed all their problems. A lot happened over the 3 nights, but what were some of your takeaways from it, Alex?
I mean, I feel like the first night, I'm going to admit, it was a little boring. Like, it wasn't exciting as past drafts have been. There's a little bit here and there. Michael Penix, that was the big surprise, I believe, the first surprise and the biggest surprise of the draft. After signing Kirk Cousins to the huge contract, everybody figured, they're probably going to get an edge rusher or something like a Dallas Turner or whatnot, whatever happened to fall to him. I know I've got a friend who's a Falcons fan. That's what he was hoping for. Didn't get that guy, Michael Penix, and a lot of people are hating on it. I think it's still fair. Realistically speaking, I think allowing him to develop, because realistically, he was a raw talent. Like, he's got the ability, but it's just a matter of containing it and controlling it. You watch some highlights, I swear half of his highlight reels were just prayers lobbed up to Rome Odunze. So it's just a matter of how to control it and use it properly. Obviously, Caleb Williams went first. That was no surprise there. Some interesting players that happened to fall. Cooper DeJean and Kool-Aid McKinstry both falling to the 2nd round despite being first-round talents. Obviously, Kool-Aid McKinstry was an injury issue, and then Cooper DeJean, that's just one of those rare things that just happens. I mean, I know like Brian Branch fell to the 2nd round last year, and he definitely panned out in the long run. Look at the QBs taken. 6 in the first 12 picks, which is just astonishing. That is just crazy. And then you have 14 straight offensive players on top of that taken right away in the first round. I had an idea of that going in. There weren't a lot of like top-heavy defensive players like there have been in previous drafts. No like edge rusher that should go top 3 or corner that should go top 5. But it was just a lot of offense, and then eventually they got to defense in the later rounds. I'm excited to see where it goes. Joe Alt, that was another interesting pick that was a little surprise. Everybody figured receiver, but Chargers are building around that Jim Harbaugh scheme.
Yeah, it was definitely odd to see the Falcons pick a quarterback after paying Kirk Cousins so much money, but it's looking like they're going to have Kirk Cousins play the mentor role and hope Michael Penix is Jr. at the end of that giant Kirk Cousins contract. I also like what the Packers were able to do. They addressed some of their needs with a safety, a linebacker, and an offensive lineman. And that will do it for this semester of The List. We hope you enjoyed each week of our show and all the lists that were part of it. For Alex Monty and the members of UW TV, I'm Colin Reynolds. Have a great summer.